This is the oldest warship still in service today. Launched in the mid-18th century, she fought against the Spanish Armada and even Napoleon. But what is her story? And why is she still around today? This is HMS Victory, one of history's most famous ships of the line. She was commissioned in 1759 and launched in 1765. This was right smack in the middle of the 7 Years' War, a global conflict that saw Britain fight against France. The war would be fought over land and sea, with battles taking place from North America to India. At this point in time, world powers measured their strength in ships of the line. These were large, heavily armed vessels designed for nothing but fighting other ships of the line. They were essentially the tanks of the sea. The ship would have been equipped with cannons on either side, and firing broadsides into enemy ships would be their main tactic. To ensure the guns could fire as many shots as possible, they had multiple gun decks. This meant that while a ship may only have 30 or so guns, they could fire 3 full broadsides all in quick succession. A hit from one of these massive cannons could easily sink another ship or cause massive damage. Because of this, there was little room on these ships for anything else apart from guns and the crew to operate them. Soldiers would not be on board these ships because there were no places for them to fight from. Back to the ship that started it all. When Victory was launched, she was one of the largest warships ever built by the Royal Navy. Her length was over 184 feet, which was 56 meters long. Her beam was 48 feet, which was 14.5 meters. This made her almost as wide as she was long. Altogether, the ship displaced 100 guns. Now let me remind you that this was the mid-1700s. The biggest ship built by the Royal Navy before this was just under 50 guns. Suddenly having a 100-gun ship was a big deal. She was designed by the famous shipbuilder Thomas Slade. He had worked for the Navy for over 30 years at this point, and his experience really shows. He had previously worked on HMS Victory, a ship that was the first to bear the title of Ship of the Line. He also helped design HMS Royal Sovereign, the largest ship in the world when Victory was being built. She was built at a cost of about £200,000. That is equivalent to around £36 million today. Victory was built out of live oak. This was a very hard type of wood that was perfect for ships. These trees were mainly found in the American colonies, and a lot of them were actually stolen from the colonists. This isn't surprising considering that the American Revolution wouldn't start for another 100 years. However, the colonies did complain about this. In fact, a petition was sent to the Crown about how this was ruining their economy. Despite this, the Royal Navy continued to take the wood for its ships. Victory would have originally been painted black, but this was changed to a more sea-going green in the late 1700s. Once she was launched, Victory began her lengthy career in the Royal Navy. After a few years of training and exercising, she set sail for the Mediterranean. This was because the 7 Years' War had taken a turn for the worst. France had managed to capture Corsica from the British. Victory was sent here to try and take it back. She spent 2 years blockading French ports and harassing their shipping. However, despite this, the French held on to the island. Eventually, the British gave up and signed a treaty with Spain, who controlled Corsica. With Europe relatively calm at this point, Victory was sent back to England. She remained in port for 5 years until the outbreak of the American Revolutionary War. Once again, Victory was sent to sea, where she fought against the Americans. However, the war didn't go well for the Royal Navy, and Victory herself suffered a devastating loss. While trying to capture New York, she ran aground and had to be pulled free. During this, the ship sprung a leak, and the crew had to abandon her. Fortunately, she was saved and taken back to England. Once again, she needed to be refitted, this time at a cost of £63,000. That is equivalent to around £11 million today. It was around this time that the French started to become a problem once more. They had been helping out the Americans throughout the war and were becoming a major threat to British trade. In 1781, Victory joined the fleet under the command of Admiral Lord Nelson to hunt down and destroy the French. The British managed to find them near the coast of France and a battle began. This is now known as the Battle of the Saints. Victory played a major role in the battle, helping to capture several French ships. One of the ships captured was the flagship of the French fleet, which was carrying the Count and the Governor-General of Saint-Domingue. Victory took heavy damage during the battle, but she managed to hold out. It was during this battle that Horatio Nelson became famous. He was just a captain aboard Victory at the time, but he managed to single-handedly break the French fleet. Unfortunately, the battle came at a high cost because one of those killed was Captain Luke Hood. He was mortally wounded while trying to board the French flagship. Nelson took over the command of Victory after he was killed. Soon after, the French fleet surrendered and the Royal Navy had won a massive victory. Nelson was knighted for his actions during the battle and he rose through the ranks to become an admiral. Victory also received some recognition and was awarded £18,000, equivalent to around £3 million today. Nelson went on to become Lord Nelson. He famously died at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. This was a battle against Napoleon's navy and it would be his death that would lead to Napoleon never invading Britain. Following Trafalgar, Victory became a training ship for young midshipmen. She remained in this role for decades, seeing very little active duty. During this time, she was docked at Plymouth. Then in 1812, she was moved to Chatham. It was decided that Victory should be preserved as a reminder of the great age of wooden walls. She was officially put into reserve and the following year was towed to London. Here she was moored as a trophy on the River Thames. In 1830, the ship was then moved to Portsmouth. By this time, the ship was very old and it was feared that she might sink. This proved to be true as the ship began to fall apart. In 1859, she began to crack and had to be propped up. Over the next 10 years, the ship was restored and fittingly became a museum. Today, Victory is open to the public and is one of the most popular attractions in the UK. Every year over 400,000 visitors come to see her. Most of the interior of the ship is open to explore. Visitors can walk through the same corridors that Nelson would have done and even climb the mast. There are also exhibitions and displays all around the ship detailing her life from building to the present day. On top of this, there are regular events held on board, including concerts and tours. You can even stay overnight on board if you dare. The ship is located within Portsmouth Historic Dockyard. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The dockyard was originally built in the 15th century and was one of several built around the south coast of England. Back in the day, these were used to build and repair ships for the Royal Navy. Today, the dockyard is home to many historic ships, including HMS Warrior and HMS M33. Victory is also listed as one of the most important wrecks in the UK. This means that it is protected by law and cannot be interfered with. Victory's original name was to have been HMS Triumph. However, after the ship was launched, the First Lord of the Admiralty requested that the name be changed to HMS Victory. This was because he felt that the name Triumph was too similar to that of the recently launched HMS Torbay. If you think about it, Victory has quite literally seen it all. She was there from the beginning of the Age of Sail until the end. She saw the likes of Nelson and fought against both the Americans and the French. To this day, she stands in the very same dockyard where she was once built. To me, she is a symbol of Britain's past and all of the explorers and conquerors that came before us. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. Also, if you want to see more content, check out the channel. Again, thank you so much for watching and goodbye.